Naganirna Miarna, Namarni Nainari David, Nayarta Yoki Yaku, Nakuntari Takaji Naichu Ardley, Napulli Naichin, Wagni Warna Garna Miarna, Mipulli Naichun Kun Yun Tapathy. Now, what I've just said, for those of you who don't understand Garna when it's spoken with an Irish accent, is hello, my name is David. I'm not originally from this country, but I am very proud to call it my home. And I do so in the language of the Garna people as a sign of my respect. We meet tonight on Garna land. The Garna people have performed ceremonies on this land for many centuries, and we pay our respect to the living culture and the unique role they play in the life of Adelaide. Welcome one and all to a very special evening. Before we start tonight's proceedings, can I please ask you to switch your phones to silent? And please note that no recording of the event is allowed, but photos are permissible during the performance, provided there's no flashing. Flashing will not go down well. I would also like to give a special thanks to Jacinta Thompson, the Executive Director of the Bob Hawke Prime Ministerial Centre, for instigating Eric's presentation for the Hawke Centre and indeed for his visit to Adelaide here tonight. Thank you, Jacinta. Now, there are many advantages to being the Vice-Chancellor of one of the world's best young universities. But one of the highlights of this year so far is to welcome a Python and to make him part of our institution. But a little bit on that later. Now, people who know me know my literary references generally begin and end with the works of the late, great Sir Terry Pratchett, who was a very good friend of mine and a very generous donor to the University of South Australia. Terry's Discworld books, his series, informed my growing years, and so in 1995, when Eric Idle voiced Rincewind the Wizard in a computer adventure game based on Pratchett's Discworld, he thoroughly reaffirmed his status among my pantheon of heroes. Eric was, of course, a comedic hero of mine for many years before that, and I did entertain wearing my Bring Me a Shrubbery t-shirt tonight, but I was talked out of it. I did discover another story, which is also a high point among my cultural references. In the second or fifth Star Wars movie, depending on how you learn to count the movies, The Empire Strikes Back, Han Solo and Princess Leia arrive at Cloud City. It's the build-up to that great scene where he says, or she says, "I love you," and he says, "I know." But what cinema goers didn't know was that in that scene they were both drunk because of Eric Idle. Eric recently told New York Times that Carrie Fisher rented his house during filming, and they partied late into the night and then filmed the next morning. And he's very proud of that. Eric's new book is named for the song "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life" that he wrote for and sang as he was crucified at the end of the film Life of Brian. Now, incidentally, that song has gone on to become the #1 requested song at British funerals, knocking Frank Sinatra's My Way off the top. On writing, Eric says that writing about yourself is an odd mix of therapy and lap dancing. Exciting and just a little bit shameful. But before we get into that in greater detail, please excuse me for one moment. I'll be right back. And now for something completely different. The more observant among you will be asking yourselves, why the hat? It's a normal thing to ask at this point in the proceedings. I did refer earlier to making Eric a part of our institution, and tonight we're going to do something that very few people outside of our graduating classes get to see. Though Eric Idle has spent a good deal of time in his career dressed in women's clothing, and has a performance wardrobe full of cardigans, we are going to add to his dress collection tonight with some academic dress. We are about to present Eric Idle, a man who has mercilessly lampooned Yorkshiremen, Scots, Australians, Canadians, Germans, French, lumberjacks, Judeans, Pharisees, and Romans, though notably not the Irish, with an honorary doctorate of the University of South Australia. Welcome.
Thank you. Please.
I thought we might like to share this low-key moment among friends. The University of South Australia awards the honorary degree of Doctor of the University to a person of eminence who's made a distinguished contribution to public service or field of academic endeavour or artistic pursuit. Eric Idle is a comedian, singer-songwriter, musician and comedic composer. But first and foremost, he's a writer. He was a member of the British comedy group Monty Python's Flying Circus, which between 1969 and 1974 it had a huge influence on comedy, inspiring comedians for the next 50 years. This is a multi-talented man who has had an enormous impact on the entertainment industry across the world. Even Elvis Presley was a fan, referring to his friends as Squire, a wink and a nudge to the nudge, nudge, wink, wink skit. And it is said that he often reprised Monty Python skits in bed late at night with his girlfriend. Say no more. Since the Python years, there have been films, plays, radio programs, and a band, the Ruttles, a Beatles parody, which gave birth to the world's first mockumentary, All You Need Is Cash. Eric describes himself as the nicest of the Monty Python group, the third tallest, and proof that you could make a living as a cross-dresser on British TV. His new book, a sort of biography called Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, is the tale of a man who, in his own words, is an optimist by day and a pessimist by nighttime. He says he can't stand talking to people much before lunch. Nobody civilized does that. And that might be the clue to look for in a quest to understand the man. We used to be babe magnets, he says. Now we're fridge magnets. I thought it was time to tell my tale before I suffer from amnesia, which is what happens to elderly actors. This particular fridge magnet came of age as a writer and comedian during the 60s and 70s and stumbled into the crossroads of the Cultural Revolution. He captured a time of tremendous creative output with hilarity and heart, and millions of people around the world responded. Monty Python's Flying Circus opened the American market for British comedy, and Pythonesque became an actual word. It's used to describe something bizarre and surreal, such as Eric's long-held belief that it is appropriate to kiss the Vice-Chancellor's ring on receipt of a degree parchment. There will be no such obligation tonight. Eric Idle, on behalf of the University of South Australia, I am pleased to present you with the honorary degree of Doctor of the University in recognition of your distinguished service to the community.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very nice. Thank you. Wow. Very nice. Well, another silly costume, eh? I would just, I don't quite know what to say, actually. I feel like I've been in this movie before, but I don't know what my words are. Anyway, I don't know what on earth I did to deserve this, but it's very, very kind of you. I really appreciate it. Perhaps, is it for coming in here when the weather was like this? Is that what I get it for braving the weather? I mean, who knew Adelaide was going to turn into Scotland? But it's not global warming that worries me, it's personal cooling. But that's just a personal side. But it's really kind of you, Vice-Chancellor, and why are they always called Vice-Chancellors? Is it something about their private life we should know? You know, I'm not quite sure. The Vice-Chancellor conjures up quite a different idea of somebody in public life, doesn't it? Sort of like Stormy Daniels in a robe, which would probably make a bit of a change for her, actually. Anyway, the reason I'm really here is, of course, obviously to flog my book. So it's very, very kind of you to present me with this lovely outfit, which apparently I'll get to keep, you know, and I'm very proud to follow Barry Humphries in this, which is very, very nice. But so I'm trying to promote my book, my sort of biography, which is not an easy book to put down, but well worth the effort. In fact, my writing has been compared to Graham Greene, but never favourably. So now for a change, let's talk about me. Let's bring on Robin Williams, who's going to talk to me for the next 2 days. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Vice-Chancellor. Very much. I'm honoured. Hello, Robin. Hello. Welcome. I'm going to disrobe. Oh, hang on. Oh. Thank you very
Evening all.
much, sir. Thank you. Very kind.
Do you realise when I started the science show, the Vice-Chancellor was 1?
Oh, I can leave
Oh,
that
you
there.
took it off?
I took it off, yes, because,
Oh.
you know, I just felt it was inappropriate to be cheeky and rude wearing so distinguished robes, which I think were based on the Plymouth Argyle outfit, weren't they?
That's right. Now you've been doctored,
Yes.
you have some amazing omniscience.